So hello viewers, you're welcome to another tutorial class. So today I'll be showing you how to cut a corset, easy way to cut a corset using bra cup. So the bra cup I'm using is size 38. The sizes are always written on the bra cup, so this is the size I'm using, the size 38. So without further much ado, let's go straight to the point. So the first thing that we're going to do is to take our midpoint. So I'm taking half inch. You can take 1 inch if you want the center between the two bra cup to be wider. You can take 1 inch, but I'm taking half inch. But when I open it, it will become 1 inch. So I'm going to mark down my half. I'm going to join them together. Then the next thing you're going to do is to place your bra cup place it this way. Then I'm going to take your tape, measure the under bust. I have my measurements here. The under bust is 13. So I'm going to mark the under bust now. So anywhere the 13 mark is, I will mark it. Then I can remove my bra cup now. I'm going to transfer the remaining measurements. So I have 13 here, 13. Then the next thing I'm going to measure the half length, and the half length is 17.5. Add allowance of 2 inch. This is 1, 2, she's 19.5. Is that okay? Then you draw these lines. So the next thing that I'm going to do now is to take the bust pan, which is, for the person I'm working with, the bust pan is 7.5, which is 3¼ 7 inch. So you mark here, you mark here, then you mark on the under bust. So if I'm to label it, this is the under bust, this is the waist point, then this is the allowance. Is that okay? Can you see it? Alright, so now that we have done this, let's just place our bra cup. Then we draw the line out. So once you've done that, on this your point here, you're going to take 3.5 inch on both sides. 1/2 inch on both sides. Then you link it to the under bust. So now that we've succeeded in putting the darts, the next thing that we're going to do now is to start imputing the measurements. So we'll be taking the measurements now. So the under bust, the bust point here is 12.5. That is with allowance, so 2 inch allowance with 1 inch for joining. So we have it here. Then the under bust is 11 plus allowance. Then the waist is 11 plus allowance. So I'm going to join all this together now. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do now, so there's one thing I want to show you. Don't measure with the bra cup here, because if you measure it, you will not get the actual measurement. So if I put the bra cup now and measure, you see that somehow the measurement will be reduced. See 12 here. Are you seeing it? See where my 12 inch is. Are you seeing that small gap? In sewing, this small gap will be very important. So you have to remove it so that you can get your actual measurements. Is that okay? Then for this bra cup, you are not going to measure this exact bra cup, because if you measure this exact roundness and you want to sew, it will be too wide. So you are going to go in by 0.4. Then you mark, just mark it round. This will be the point that you are going to cut. So this place that I marked is the place that I'm going to cut. So the next thing that we're going to do now is to cut this out so that we can cut the back pattern. So the front piece is done. This is what it looks like. Is that okay? Remember that when you are cutting your fabric is going to be on fold. Is that okay? Alright, so now I want to cut the back pattern. Now you see this, my center front, it must align. Alright, now that it has aligned, because I want to lace the back, I don't want to use zip, I'm going to remove zipper allowance. Is that okay? So I'm going to measure 2 inches. So I'll measure 2 inches. So that 2 inches now is now going to be out from the back that I'm going to cut. So all this place is the place that I'm going to cut out. So I'm going to place my front again. But every other thing remains the same. Here, just for me to trace, the allowances are still the same. Make sure that the upper part align You don't want to have the front longer than the back or the back longer than the front. Is that okay? So once I have this, I can transfer the dart too. So I'm just transferring the darts. I'm not doing anything special here. Just transferring the darts. So after I'm done now, I'll just go ahead and cut the back. This is where we are cutting this place out. Remember that the shape, I want this one to be straight. If you want any shape in the back, this is when you can effect that. You can make it curve from here now. Is that okay? If you want to make it a low back, you can do something like this. Is that okay? Then you now cut here out. If you want to make it a V, you can do it, make it a V. Any shape you want at all for the back, you can effect that change here. Is that okay? Alright. So the next I'm going to do now is to place my pattern paper this way. Remember the cloth is on fold. Place my pattern paper this way. Then I will now cut it out. So I've gone ahead and cut my front. Then this is my back piece. Remember that the back piece will always be separated. Is that okay? Alright, so once I've done this, I'll go ahead and prepare this by gumming it with a gum stay. I don't know what it's called in your country, but in Nigeria it is called a gum stay, paper gum stay, the hard one. Is that okay? So I'm going to go ahead and gum it, prepare everything, then I will come back. So the next thing that I'm going to do now is to cut the fabric that I'm going to use to cover my bra cup. So to determine that, you're going to pick one of the bra cup, measure from this particular edge to the other side. Is that okay? So you can see that I have 8.5. So, but I'm going to cut 9. Is that okay? So whatever my folding is now, it has to be that 9 inches. Is that okay? Then you measure here. Here is giving me 6.5 plus. Alright, so I'm going to keep it. So you can see now my remaining fabric is on fold, because I want to cut 2 for the both bra cup. I'm going to fold it again this way. Is that okay? Then what I'm going to do now is I will now fold it one more time this way. Do you understand the folding? Let me do it again. You do the first folding into 2, then you fold again into 4, then you fold this way. Make sure that it's arranged very well. So from the midpoint here, now I'm going to measure I'll just measure 5 because I don't, or 5.5, because I don't want a situation where it will be smaller. Is that okay? So I'm going to mark it. I'm going to mark it. Then you mark it. So the next thing is you will cut it out. So this one you are going to have. So the next thing you are going to do, don't open it yet. You are going to measure, because we want to shape it now. You are going to measure 1 inch from the upper part here. So we want to shape it now. The same thing on the other side. Then to the midpoint, connect this your 1 inch. Connect it to the midpoint. The same thing on this other side. Then you cut it out. So now I've cut it. So this is what you will have. So once you join it, it will now cover it perfectly. Can you see it? So I'm going to go ahead and gum this, then I will join it. So because of this video, I don't want it to be very, very lengthy. So I will be showing you in another class, in another tutorial, how to cover this fabric, how to cover this breast cup with this particular fabric. So thank you for watching. I appreciate all your support. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. If this is your first time, you're welcome. We have a lot lined up for all our students and our friends out there that support this channel. Thank you for watching. God bless.